Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Wynna Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. A proposed law that deals specifically with cybercrime is put up for consultation. People who contract Omicron subvariants will be allowed to quarantine at home as new COVID cases remain above 3,000. And Britain swelters as the mercury soars to record highs. Hong Kong may soon have an ordinance that specifically targets cybercrime, with offenders facing tough penalties. Such offenses currently come under various laws, some of which have fallen behind the times. Janice Lowe reports.
The Law Reform Commission is proposing new legislation on cyber-dependent crimes. The aim is to protect people's rights arising from the challenges triggered by technological development and minimize the risk to individuals who are exploited and lured into criminal activity. As there is no specific ordinance targeting only cybercrime, the proposal addresses 5 cyber-dependent crimes. These are illegal access to program or data, illegal interception of computer data, illegal interference of computer data or a computer system, and making available or possessing a device or data for committing a crime. Offenders face up to 2 years imprisonment on summary conviction and 14 years to convictions on indictment. If the cybercrime threatens lives, offenders can be jailed for life. The Commission is seeking the views of the public.
What concerned us during our discussions is whether exemptions should be granted to cybersecurity professionals, or if some of these illegal access or illegal interference with computer systems or data are carried out for a legitimate purpose. There may be instances of legitimate use or what society considers to be legitimate use.
The public consultation closes in mid-October. The last official study on cybercrime in Hong Kong was conducted 22 years ago. Since then, technology has become more sophisticated. With this in mind, officials decided it's time for another review to update the issue in connection with the law. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
People who contracted Omicron subvariants will be able to quarantine at home starting today, instead of going to isolation facilities.
BA.5 has a growth advantage over other subvariants, but we have not observed any increase in severity among those patients suffering from it. Therefore, we will adjust the management of people suffering from suspected BA.2.1, as well as those suspected to be suffering from BA.4 or 5.
Those already in quarantine in hotels or isolation facilities will have to stay there for the required duration. Hong Kong today recorded 3,805 new COVID cases, of which 180 were imported. Hospitals admitted another 146 infected people. 2 patients who had 2 doses of vaccines each are critically ill, and 6 others are in serious condition. Macau will relax some anti-pandemic measures from Saturday. A number of entertainment venues, as well as barbershops and hair salons, will be allowed to open, but theaters, beauty parlors, gyms, and nurseries will remain shut. The ban on dine-in services will continue, with only takeaways permitted. The gambling hub has registered 18 new infections, taking its tally in the outbreak to 1,783. Another round of mass testing will be conducted at the end of the month, after which high-risk groups will have to take PCR tests daily for about 1 week. In Hong Kong, most of the 8 super scores in this year's Diploma of Secondary Education exam plan to study locally. They and about 50,000 other students received their results today. Joanna Ho reports.
Almost all 8 top scorers in this year's university entrance exam were from elite schools. Among them were 4 super top scorers who got 5-star for 7 subjects, as well as the extended mathematics module. Zhang Jipeng is one of them. He's the first top scorer from Carmel Secondary School in Homentin. Zhang is aiming for a degree in quantitative finance and risk management science from the Chinese university. He recalled the days when he caught COVID in February while preparing for the Diploma of Secondary Education exam.
I had fatigue throughout the period. I think it sustained for like 7 days, for a week. I couldn't really pay attention to my study, and I will really feel very tired and exhausted after study. I have to have a longer break and more breaks during the study throughout that week.
Another super top scorer, Christy Chow from Hip Yan School in Ma Tau Wai, achieved top marks in music, apart from traditional science subjects. After realizing during the pandemic that the local healthcare system has a manpower shortage, Chow wants to enroll in the medical school of the Chinese university. About 50,000 students received their last report card from school this morning. Some were satisfied, others were confused, but many continued to plan for their future ahead. Well-known train enthusiast Jason Low was seen applying for the journalism and communication program and was admitted on the spot by Hang Seng University, which conducted instant interviews today for candidates who missed a few marks in the exam. Education Chief Christine Choi encouraged students to pursue their dreams, saying there are about 60,000 higher education places this year. About 17,000 candidates qualified for admission to local universities, with 13,000 slots available in the top 8 institutions. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Over 3,200 students with special education needs also received the results of the university entrance exam. This student with albinism got 27 marks in his 6 best subjects and scored 5-star in Chinese history. He had to use magnifying instruments to revise, and he plans to join the Chinese university's social work program. This student with spinal muscular atrophy scored 22 marks in her 5 best subjects, with 5 double-star in combined science. She urged other special needs students to try out many things. The Hong Kong Book Fair has opened with exhibitors unsure how sales will go. But there was a big crowd when the week-long event got underway. Maisie Mock reports.
Book enthusiasts were waiting in line long before the fair opened its store at 10 a.m. This man, who was at the head of the queue, left his home at 3 a.m. to travel to the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai.
I'm super ultra excited to see this book fair.
Like, what category of books are you going to get?
Anime books, because I like animes.
Another man was prepared to splash out $2,000. The week-long fair will run until Tuesday. Unlike the previous years, students are not on their summer break, making it harder for exhibitors to predict how many books they can sell.
I think should be more or less the same, and because students are still having their school days, and trying to see if much better than on weekends.
The Trade Development Council, which is organizing the fair, says it will not censor any books. Last year, some exhibitors were reported to the National Security Police for books they displayed. Veteran journalist Au Ka Lun is promoting his travel book, says he does not care if people complain.
I write what I want to write, and I think this is completely lawful to write something about your experience in traveling. I don't think we should draw the red lines by ourselves too actively.
This year, the book fair has taken a step to reduce paper waste. If anyone gets lost, they can scan this QR code inside the exhibition hall to access the floor plan, instead of reading a brochure. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Justice Chief Paul Lam says Article 23 of the Basic Law is a complex issue and the government is studying its enactment, but he did not provide a timetable. Chloe Feng reports.
Justice Secretary Paul Lam told a radio program that the strict bail standard under the national security law should apply to all criminal cases which the court believes endanger national security. Article 42 stipulates bail should not be granted unless the judge has sufficient grounds to believe that the defendant will not continue to commit acts endangering national security. Lam said the government is actively studying the enactment of the Basic Law's Article 23, which Chief Executive John Lee pledged to focus on during his term. Lam said the research involves prison terms and whether to have jury trials. Officials will also investigate how to deal with overlapping offenses in Article 23 and the National Security Law. Two offenses, secession and subversion of state power, are already covered under the security law. Lam, meanwhile, said morale in his department remains high, despite a bid by a U.S. panel to sanction him and 15 public prosecutors. He said no one in his team has expressed any intention to resign. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Overseas, a heat wave in Britain has pushed temperatures past 40 degrees Celsius, the highest ever recorded in the country. The government has declared a national emergency, while weather authorities warned of more hot spells this summer. A country stereotyped for its dreary weather, Britain continued to shock as a prolonged heat wave broke temperature records. The eastern village of Coningsby hit 40.3 degrees Celsius, the highest ever recorded in Britain. In the capital, London, Mayor Sadiq Khan reported a huge surge in fires. Many were grass fires, but buildings and houses were not spared. For most Britons who've had to deal with the unusual weather since June, it's been a struggle.
In UK, there's a lot of people have got no aircons because it's not kind of that weather. It's just the beginning yet, but you never know what will happen.
We've just had 8 ambulances arrive at the moment. All those crews have been offloaded to go back out. It's really hot in the department as well. We're in an old building and we're doing what we can to keep our patients and our staff cool where we can.
The effect of the heat is much greater with residents who are elderly, who have underlying health conditions.
Well, I wish it would stop. I'll be glad when it does stop.
Tourists like this family from Argentina found creative ways to cool down.
We went to the, how do you say, Fuente, to put our Trafalgar Square and put our head inside the water.
Extreme weather has also affected other parts of Europe. Residents in the Greek capital Athens took it upon themselves to fight fires. In France's southwestern Gironde region, firefighters continued to battle forest fires that began last week. Interim President Ranil Wickremesinghe has been picked by Sri Lankan lawmakers to lead the country. He was elected by 134 votes to 82 to succeed Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who fled the cash-strapped country. Wickremesinghe is a seasoned politician with wide experience in diplomatic and international affairs. But many Sri Lankans who are struggling to survive see him as a holdover of the Rajapaksa government, which has been blamed for their country's worst economic crisis in living memory. Inflation in Britain has risen to a new 40-year high, adding to the financial burden of ordinary people. With inflation hitting 9.4% last month, Britons are bracing themselves for more price increases for food, fuel, and housing. Opposition parties have accused the Conservative government of doing nothing, while families and pensioners see their buying power shrink. The rise in consumer prices is expected to spur the Bank of England to raise interest rates again next month. A look at the markets now. The Hang Seng Index closed up 229 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent up $5.40, Alibaba up $2.30. Hong Kong exchanges up $8.60, Kuaishou up $2.05. In foreign exchange rates, the euro is at 8, British pound 9.39. In foreign markets, the UK FTSE is down 12 points. On to the weather now. It will be fine with isolated showers tomorrow morning. Temperatures will range between 29 and 35 degrees. It will continue to remain fine and hot over the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more at 11. I'm Wynna Wong. Good night.